Good evening and welcome to the inaugural edition of The Dish. I'm your host, Monica Eng. I'm a food and health reporter at the public radio station WBEZ in Chicago. I'm so excited to be here tonight to host The Dish Storytelling Slam with the Illinois Stewardship Alliance. It's a nonprofit alliance of farmers and eaters with a stated goal of working together to solve problems and build just and regenerative food systems. Tonight, we'll be sharing some truly incredible stories with you from the Illinois heartland itself. You're going to hear real-life accounts of farmers across the land of Lincoln who roll up their sleeves every single day to put food on our tables, to steward the land, and to help Illinois create a strong local food economy. If you've ever experienced the moth on public radio, you will be familiar with tonight's structure. It's going to feel a lot the same, and interspersed with the stories from farmers, we'll have folks talking to you about the Alliance's work, the live auction taking place online right now, and we'll even have some very special four-legged guests joining us. I would be remiss if I didn't mention that this, like so many other nonprofits in the era of COVID, is a virtual event. And the Alliance, like so many others, is new to it. So I hope we've worked out all the kinks, but please bear with us as we navigate these new technological waters. If you're able, we recommend that the best way to enjoy tonight's event is to have two devices on hand. Not four, two devices on hand. One to stream the video. That would be like a computer or a smart TV, and the other to donate or bid on auction items like your mobile phone. You can still do those things if you don't have two devices. It'll just be easier if you have two at your disposal. Also, if you experience any technical difficulties viewing the show or participating in the online auction, please call or text Liz at 217-520-3867. That's 217. I feel like I'm in public radio again. 217-520-3867. Now, before we kick things into high gear tonight, let's learn a little bit more about the Illinois Stewardship Alliance and their members.
Here's the deal. You want healthy and affordable food. You want the people who grew that food to have a good life. You want to support your local businesses so your community is vibrant and resilient. You want the natural world around you filled with clean water, green spaces, happy wildlife, and living soil. But it's not easy. Healthy food is expensive. Farmers who grow local foods are struggling, and fertile soils are dying and washing away. And you're shaking your fist at the sky and shouting, "Why is this so hard?" The simple answer is that we have a food system that values corporate profits over the health of our communities, the vitality of our local economies, and the sustainability of our farmland. But there's hope, because people like you are working to change this system in Illinois. More than ever, farmers and eaters are coming together, untangling the root causes and finding solutions. They're advocating for change with their collective voices and their individual daily choices. They're changing regulations like cottage food laws that encourage more business startups. They're growing the Buy Fresh, Buy Local network to make it easier to find local food and grow local economies. They're improving policy to help farmers practice more conservation. And who are these superhumans? Well, they are just like you, and they are members of the Illinois Stewardship Alliance. The Alliance makes it easy for you to use your voice and your choices to create a better food system. It's time for you to join the Alliance.
Alliance aims to make it easy for citizens like you to use your voice and your choice to support the things that you care about. So it participates in things like the Buy Fresh, Buy Local Illinois Coalition, which is building a statewide directory of farms and local food businesses to help people find and choose local food. They also have a new food and farm voter guide to make it easy for you to use your voice at the ballot box this November to support regenerative food systems. Now, the reason you're all here, the storytelling. The Alliance asked 4 storytellers to tell a true story on the theme of comfort food. They were asked to think about the ideas, people, and places that bring them comfort or hope for the future. Our first storyteller is an ambitious beginning farmer from Southern Illinois who's into agroforestry. That's farming with trees. She's one of the founding members of the Alliance's Soil Health Caucus. And this young trailblazer has got a downright amazing story. Her name is Katie Adams, and she was recorded live in front of a recent gathering of the fellow Soil Health Caucus members. Ladies and gentlemen, Katie Adams.
I grew up right on the edge of the rolling hills of the Shawnee National Forest in Southern Illinois, where I spent much of my childhood outside. My parents took us on hikes often, and my mom would kick my sister and I out of the house during the summer. As I entered my teenage years, when most of my peers slept in late, I spent my summer mornings at swim practice or training for multi-week backpacking trips in the Southwest. I felt like anything was possible. As I entered college to study anthropology, I started staying up late, smoking cigarettes, and drinking entirely too much beer. I excelled at asking big questions, writing papers, and pushing boundaries. But I stopped swimming, and I stopped hiking, and I stopped spending the majority of my free time outside, unless it was a bonfire, and then I was free to enjoy my new hobbies, smoking and drinking entirely too much beer. By the time I finished my master's degree, I had wrapped up my department's highest honor, a pack-a-day habit, regular status at a few local bars, and half a decade of severe clinical depression. I felt like nothing was possible. As I was writing my thesis, exploring relationship building on small-scale farms, I came to the realization that I deeply longed for the lives of the folks that I was studying. They spent their time outside, moving their bodies with purpose, stewarding the land and producing abundance for their families and communities. And the day after my defense, I moved onto a farm. And 3 months after that, I moved to St. Louis to begin my farming career. During my third week of work, I was introduced to a very strange fruit. It looked tropical, green, and alien, and its floral, earthy aroma washed over me as it was passed to me for a bite. The second the spoon touched my lips, a feeling of lightning went through my body, a feeling I have only felt 2 other times, summiting my first mountain peak and meeting my fiance, John. Its seeds had been found in the bellies of mastodons. It was a staple food for my ancestors, and it saved the Lewis and Clark exhibition from starvation. This humble fruit, the largest one indigenous to North America, the one that had just sent electricity running through my body, is Asimina triloba, the pawpaw. Its native range extends across the Midwest and into the South, and it grows freely in floodplains and along river edges, always in the middle story, with its deep, glossy, dark green leaves drooping down towards the forest floor. And you've definitely walked past them and not even realized their power. After this first taste, I became obsessed. I started learning everything I could about this fruit and obsessively scouting areas where it grew. I started hiking again, just to find pawpaw groves. I found them in city parks and botanical gardens and front yards and state parks and all over my beloved homeland of Southern Illinois. On these excursions, I started to see what forests actually are: interconnected communities of abundance. The overstory of oaks anchored the area with their deep mining roots, dropping their leaves to decompose for fertility and its acorns to support the scurrying life below. The hickories beside them bring much of the same, often dropping nuts on years that alternate with the oak. The pawpaws are right there in the middle, watching it all, sending down a deep taproot, spreading itself out, attracting carrion flies with their stinky flowers, and developing the magic fruit. Right below pawpaws is spicebush, with its bright red berries and warm fragrance. And then at our feet, wood nettle and wild ginger provide a carpet of nutrient richness. All are edible and joyous. Each is perfectly suited to its niche. These relationships make all life possible. Each year during September, when I am the most burnout from farming, I spend much of my free time collecting, eating, talking about, and sharing pawpaws. Its highly perishable nature and the fact that the best, ripest ones are found on the ground ensure I can only take what I need to eat and share. If I'm in a public place, I might get home with no fruit, even when the trees are bursting with bounty, because nothing brings me more joy than sharing the good word and watching someone try its custardy tropical goodness for the first time. So, if you see me out somewhere in central Illinois, looking up at some big glossy leaves, stop by and I'll share all that I can. You'll recognize me by the look on my face that says anything is possible. Thank you.
Yum. For the record, I love pawpaws, and I hadn't been aware of them until just a few years ago when my friend Tim Burton of Indiana maple syrup fame came up to Chicago with about 4 squirrels and several pawpaws that he had foraged for my podcast. And I couldn't believe that the Midwest could possibly produce something that tasted so close to a banana and a mango and a custard fruit or a custard apple. It was just like this miracle in Indiana and Illinois. So thank you so much for reminding me of those wonderful pawpaws. Next up, I want to turn things over to 2 hardworking Alliance staffers, Molly Gleason, Director of Communications, and Liz Ruppel, the Alliance's Policy Coordinator, joining us live from Alliance headquarters in Springfield. Take it away, ladies. All right. Okay, I think we might have some technical difficulties, and I know you're going to be super patient with us about this, but we'll try to get that. I think we've got it. I think we've got that. All right, I think you ladies are back. All right, take it away, ladies.
Sorry, we did a little dance break there for you. My name is Molly, and I want to welcome everyone to The Dish.
And hey, I'm Liz Ruppel, and we are coming to you live from our state capitol saying thank you for tuning in to our inaugural online storytelling event. At the Alliance, we work with so many great farmers all across the state doing extraordinary work to fight climate change, feed our communities, and make Illinois a more vibrant place to live. But their stories and their voices are often underrepresented in our very global food system. Tonight we have the opportunity to change that and put their stories front and center. As Monica mentioned, Katie recorded a story in front of a live audience of farmers at the Alliance's Soil Health Caucus. And what's that, you might ask? Well, our Soil Health Caucus is a group of farmer members from all across Illinois who have banded together to work to advance soil health policy. Soil isn't just dirt, folks. Soil is literally where everything comes from. It helps protect a lot of other things that are all important to us. It grows healthy food that keeps our waterways clean. It traps carbon to fight climate change. It is one of the biggest, and as one of the biggest achievements of this group so far, the caucus helped to champion a new state program last year to help fellow farmers afford to plant cover crops.
Liz, for the folks at home who might not know what a cover crop is, can you explain?
Absolutely. So cover crops are usually planted after your corn or your soybean harvest, basically right now, and they literally cover the soil over winter. So keeping that root in the ground all year long is so wonderful, but especially in the winter, it's like a warm blanket. They keep all of those tiny microbes living in the soil fed throughout the winter, and they protect the soil from washing away. And because of this caucus's leadership on the issue, Illinois farmers helped to keep 4,000 truckloads of sediment out of Illinois waterways and remove carbon dioxide equivalent for more than 5,000 cars off the road in just 2020 alone.
Oh my gosh, that is a lot. So, I once asked a soil health farmer in the caucus what he raised, and he told me that he raised healthy soil. And he said if he could just raise healthy soil, he'd be able to raise anything else. And I just loved that because it was a whole new way of looking at farming. So we are dishing it up tonight because with your support, we and the farmers and other advocates we partner with can do even more to create big change, just like our Soil Health Caucus did for clean water and a healthy climate. Our goal tonight is to raise $20,000 to support the Alliance's work. That's a big goal, and the good news is that we've already raised $15,000. So tonight, right here together, we need to raise another $5,000 more to meet that goal. Our alliance is powerful because of our shared belief that nothing in our food system changes unless we do the work ourselves and we fund the work ourselves. And we need you to make that happen.
So one way you can make a gift and get something really great for yourself, a family member or a friend.
Or for the upcoming holidays.
Absolutely, those are right around the corner. But that would be to bid in our online auction, which is happening right now. We have a virtual cornucopia of items available from local food baskets to farm tours to cooking classes and a whole lot more.
Personally, I am buying for the Cedar Valley Sustainable Farm Tour. Beth and Jody Osmond have a beautiful farm near Ottawa. Always wanted to visit, and it's right next door to Starved Rock State Park in one of my favorite local breweries, the Lone Buffalo Brewery, so I can make a nice little day trip out of it. So outbid me, I dare you. Every bid gets you one step closer to your perfect package and supports the Alliance's work to build just and regenerative food systems. It's win-win.
Yes. Can I come to that if you do win that,
Yeah,
Molly?
of course, Liz.
Awesome. So I have my eye on the Tulip Tree Garden Basket. It's an awesome wellness package. It has black cumin CBD oil, which is really impressive, and everything is handmade right on Rachel and Jesse's farm in Beecher. So with my phone, like Monica said, use two devices. I used our handy dandy mobile bidding app to put my bid in on that basket, and all I had to do was click watch to get notifications about other bidders outbidding me. Hopefully that won't happen, but it looks like it just did.
No. Well, we knew that item was going to be a pretty hot item. So while you're placing your next bid, I want to take a moment to thank a few of our really generous sponsors for helping make the dish possible. Our presenting sponsors are Blue Cross Blue Shield and Springfield Clinic Neurosurgery. I also want to give a shout out to some folks who have already donated. Thank you so much to Angie Savici, Joel Johnson, Tom Abbott, and Kathy Saltmarsh. Thank you so much for those donations, and keep those donations rolling in. If you haven't yet, we invite you to join us tonight with a gift to help us meet or pass our goal. Donations can easily be made online by simply pressing the donate button in the menu on the event webpage.
So Molly, I have some really great news.
You're winning your bidding war?
No, I'm not. I haven't had a chance to rebid yet, but so First Allied Securities in Bloomington is actually going to match donations that come in tonight up to $1,000. So if you are feeling inspired to give, your gift will be matched. Your donation will double the good, and so now is the time to really help us reach that matching challenge.
That is amazing news. Thank you so much, First Allied Securities, and let's turn it back over to Monica for more stories.
Thanks so much, Molly and Liz. Oh boy, those sound like some pretty fun items. I have to get over there. Well, for our next story, I would like to head to Ashcombe, Illinois in Kankakee County to hear Harold Wilkins' family farming story, which his farm, it reaches back to 1882. But in 2001, Harold found himself at a turning point, a point in time from which he never looked back. Harold's story was recorded live with members from the Alliance Local Food Producer Caucus. Please take it away, Harold.
Okay. Well, so it was November of 2013, and I had just finished loading a load of wheat to go to Lackawanna, New York for chicken feed. And as I watched that truck drive out of my lane, I thought, you know, this is really crazy. I'm shipping wheat 600 miles to feed chickens. And I got thinking of all the people in the Chicago food shed that eat that, you know, we really ought to be able to figure something out. Well, fast forward a couple of months to January 2014, and our maid of honor has a business that does strengths workshops for large corporations. And she thought it would be a hoot to do a strengths workshop with Janie's farm. So if you can imagine 5 rednecks sitting around the table answering questions about how would you do this? How would you do that? How does this make you feel? It was really a hoot all day. And at the end of the day, though, we got to see all 5 of us basically where our strengths are and where our weaknesses. But like for me, I'm the ideas guy. I'm the guy who looks at something and goes, we could do this. And my son Ross, he's the nuts and bolts guy. And he's like, okay, Dad, how are we going to pay for this? And, what are the logistics and all that? I kind of call him an anchor dragger. But anyway, so the farm, after we got done with the people, we started working on the farm. What could the farm do? And what we realized was that we should be doing food grade grains, maybe milling, things like that. So for the next 2 years, I did a lot of research and went and visited mills and did things. And finally, I drug Ross along to New York in 2016. Now you got to understand, for the last 2 years, this has been Dad's BS project, okay? But I took him to Farmer Ground Flour. We met with the Farmer Ground people, and we came back, and Ross goes, Dad, I think we could do this. And that was when I knew that Janie's Mill was going to become something and that we could go ahead and start looking to build. And once Ross was on board and him and I were working in the same direction, why, that was where the idea of Janie's Mill came forward. So for the next 2 years, we bought machines, we went and visited other mills, we got the ideas, and now we're selling flour to anywhere within a 4.5 hour radius of our farm, doing a lot in Chicago, and we sell a lot of our grain to other millers, to distillers, to brewers, and we're working on more processes that will make that possible. No good business no good business is successful without a catchy tagline. So, I came home one day and I said, I think we should make our motto, Janie's Farm and Mill. If we can't feed you, we'll get you drunk. Well, I can tell you that Sandy Wilkin, my wife, put a kibosh to that right away. But even without a good tagline and without, catchy phrase, we've been successfully milling and selling flour and developing relationships with individuals, with bakers, with millers, and it's been a great ride. But for all you who are thinking about doing milling, make sure that you got twice as much money and 4 times the time to get it going. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Harold. I, for one, am so happy that you went into growing grain for human beings and milling, because after interviewing Harold a few years ago, I was so moved by his story of his daughter that you haven't heard, that, you got to hear it. And I was so impressed by his dedication to creating good food and protecting the soil that I became a super user of his flour. And my partner keeps saying, oh, we've got another 2 boxes of that coming, because I cannot stop baking with it. I got some of the rye and heritage wheat bread right here. And I can tell you, it makes all the difference. It tastes fantastic. It's still got so much of the nutrients in it from the fresh milling. And I feel great about the people who are growing it. So thank you, Harold. Anyway, now, Harold recorded that story in front of the Alliance's local food caucus. Molly, can you tell me a little bit more about what that local food caucus is?
You bet I can. So first, let me start by asking our audience this. Did you know that about 95% of Illinois' food is imported? That's 95%. We have some of the best farmland in the world, but if something should happen tomorrow, say a pandemic, Illinois sadly could not feed Illinois. So to turn that number on its head, the Alliance's Local Food Caucus formed this year. The caucus is made up of fruit, vegetable, and livestock farmers who will all raise and sell local food. These farmers believe that farmers right here in Illinois can feed those of us who live in Illinois, and they've banded together to make that happen. The caucus is just getting off the ground, but already members are doing amazing work to help change food policy in Illinois and to build local food systems that make Illinois stronger and more resilient. In fact, we'd love you to meet and share with you a clip from Glacier's End featuring Libby and Derek Irvin, Southern Illinois, a hardworking couple who have been leading reform efforts around Illinois cottage food laws.
We met in Chicago about 6 years ago, ended up getting married, and we were just kind of got to the point where we were realizing, do we want to buy a place in the city, or what do we want to do, and it just so happened that at the time my grandfather's health was kind of failing him. He was 88. We had the opportunity to come down and kind of take care of him for a while and take care of the farm, and we ended up inheriting the farm. I feel rural communities can make agriculture the driving force of our economy. Emphasize the uniqueness of the area by the types of things you can grow. If you have a little imagination, you can start doing some interesting things. You can start bringing people to your area, build the community, start bringing Southern Illinois back. Years ago, when I would come down to visit my grandfather, I thought this would be an amazing place for an orchard. We had also developed a taste for hard cider. It was just like something clicked.
We realized we could develop the farm into a business, but also give something to the community, bring some unique things to it.
Decided to come down, start throwing trees in the ground and kind of making the farm our own.
We really knew nothing about farming. We became connected to the Illinois Stewardship Alliance to kind of expand our network, because when we moved down here, we didn't really know anybody. So the Stewardship Alliance has been great for that. It's not just down here, it's statewide. So we've met a lot of great people.
When you plant fruit trees, there's a lag in the time where you're going to have fruit. Little did I know, the new cottage food law had been enacted, which the Alliance had worked on so hard. It had been such a revolutionary thing. That change has been a big boost to small business. We were waiting for our trees to mature. And so we thought, well, why not try to look into this? We just started looking at the farm and finding stuff that we could use, turning that into product, going to the market and selling it. And that is moving us through that transitional period from where we started and where we will be as a cidery and as a winery in the future. For that law to change, I mean, literally everything we do right now, we would not have had the opportunity to do it. I mean, it wouldn't have been allowed.
And these are drinking vinegars, so very.
It's hard for up and coming cottage food makers to find a place to sell their stuff at.
I feel that is probably the main thing holding us back from going to a mid-sized business. Opening up the arenas that we can actually sell our goods at, it would be a huge benefit. The Alliance allows us to come together as small farmers and entrepreneurs.
It's bringing together people from all throughout the state to broadcast and amplify our voice, write policies and talk to politicians.
And say, we are a collective of people who want change.
Oh, I love that so much. We are so lucky to have Libby and Derek farming here in Illinois. I did have some of their shagberry syrup earlier this year. It's a mix of hickory bark syrup and elderberry syrup, and it is next level. They are definitely making Illinois agriculture look and taste very cool.
Speaking of cool, do you have any updates on that cool matching challenge from First Allied Securities?
You bet I do. So we have a few donors that have already come in. We have Jacob Wayland, Johnny Moran, Janine Pickering. Thank you so much for giving and helping us meet that matching challenge. We're not quite there yet. I'm still waiting on an update there for where we're at with the matching challenge, but we're getting closer, and every time you donate, you get us a little closer to that matching challenge, and you do double the good. So thank you so much. I also want to make sure I give a shout out to our event sponsors: Springfield Clinic, Neurosurgery, Blue Cross Blue Shield of Illinois, Do Good Training and Consulting, KEB, Brant, First Allied Security is of course with that matching challenge, Bunn, Moose Farms, Davis Financial Group, Bank of Springfield, Country Financial, Dick and Sharon Lyons, David Milling at Stifle, Common Ground Co-op, Green Top Grocery, INB Bank, SEFQ, Tulip Tree Gardens, Fresh Taste, Specs Around Town, Flower House Bakery and Cafe, and Illinois Hemp Growers Association. Woo! We have a lot of amazing businesses that help make this night possible, so thank you so much to those businesses for helping leading the way for change in Illinois.
Now, Monica, I know that the food has been a long time passion of yours, especially given your role as food and health reporter for WBZ. And I know your roots go back further than that, though. Would you share a bit more with us about why this work is important to you?
Well, I've been a food and health writer for a few decades now, and my family's been in food for a while here in Illinois. My great-grandpa came to Quincy, Illinois around the turn of the century. Then he moved to Chicago in the 20s. He opened up jazz clubs and had a Chinese restaurant empire. Through the 80s, our family kept it. But I was always writing about dining and food as like something fun to do. Then in the early 2000s, I started writing about health and sustainability because that's where food meets social justice. And, frankly, it's going to be so key to the future of our planet. And so over the years, as I've covered these issues, I've called on the Alliance for background on issues and for comments that I've covered, when I've covered stories in the Tribune or WBEZ, whether it's about raw milk or cottage food laws or other agricultural issues. I've always been able to count on going to the Alliance and finding really smart people who can give me the point of view of the sustainable food community and frankly explain to me like, what's happening with this bill? Where does it go next? What is JCAR? It's been very helpful because I cover the Alliance and they have been my sources for stories. I have to refrain from really saying anything qualitative about them, but you can judge for yourself whether or not you think this work is worthwhile just by looking at these programs. But I can say that having such responsive and informed people has benefited the audiences of the Tribune and WPC greatly as I've covered these issues.
Thank you so much, Monica, for sharing. We have to say here at the Alliance, we are huge fans of your work, and we've been following it for a long time. You're always covering the most pressing issues facing food and agriculture and raising awareness on these issues. So we were so grateful, and when we found out that you were going to be the host for tonight, we fangirled out a little bit.
Definitely a little happy dance. We're really lucky to have you here tonight, Monica, and for sharing those food stories, just like a most recent one you shared about the Right to Garden Act, Nicole Virgil's story. So thanks again for all you do. We do have another special guest. It's actually a whole herd of them to introduce you to. They can't talk with their mouths full, but they did want to give you a glimpse of life literally down on the farm. So here they are, ladies and gentlemen, coming to you almost live from Prairie Fruits and Farm and Creamery in Urbana.
Oh, how cute. I could just watch that goat cam all night long. And we're going to hear about goats in one of these upcoming stories, I think.
Yes, and I am just waiting for Angie to come in with some updates. But we are going to get to that goat story very soon in just a moment. But please, please, please keep donating. We had
Angie.
Thank you. All right, so from our last update, we had just 100 more come in. We are 900 away from our matching goal of $1,000, and we are 4,000 away from our event goal. So special thanks to Paul O'Keefe, Ellen Jacobson, and Julie Rowland for piling on to the total. So we have a ways to go, folks, but we can do this. Back to you, Monica.
Right. So, you know, we've talked a lot about how the Alliance works with farmers, but eaters are just as important to this story, too. So, in our next clip, we're going to meet Jacqueline Jarju and hear about her journey to becoming an Alliance member. Take it away, Jacqueline.
I had a lot of health issues that were food related. And my granddaughter had very severe food allergies. And that pushed me to find healthy ways to prepare the type of foods that we like, as well as how can eating healthy be more affordable. It became part of my mission. It became my passion. I came to Springfield for the Public Affairs Reporting Program. And that program actually focuses on making sure that policy is something that the everyday person can understand. And that led me into taking a course in sustainable food systems. It built more of an understanding of how we are connected to the land as well as the farmers. It showed me that connection has been broken. It really opened my eyes as to how politics and food systems are interconnected. I wanted to find a practical way to educate people and motivate them to eat healthier. That led me into enrolling in Lincoln Land Community College in the Culinary Arts and Hospitality program. This program expanded my understanding of the food system that as a layperson, as a consumer, I wasn't even aware of, because I was looking at the political and social economic and systemic changes that had to happen for us to access and enjoy good, nutritious foods. It became very, very important for me to connect with the Illinois Stewardship Alliance. I joined and I connected with a lot of down-to-earth farmers as well as consumers. And that has helped shape how my advocacy efforts will move in the future. Without the Alliance, I don't think that would have ever happened. I think good, healthy food is a right. I think only way that can happen is with proper legislation, and if people, everyday people, work towards building a system that we all can live with. What the Alliance's mission is to not only have a choice and a voice, but also connecting that to policy, connecting that to advocacy, finding ways to connect the consumer to agriculture. They bring everyone to the table. Those who are in the business of growing food, preparing food, those in advocacy, and legislators. That's what makes the Illinois Stewardship Alliance impactful.
Yes, indeed. Good food is a right that we should all have. And I loved that kale shirt I saw in there. I'm wearing a kale shirt too. I made this from like real kale leaves. I took a picture of it. But what an inspirational story. And policy, you know, as much as we think, or I thought as I was covering food, it was all about deliciousness. Policy is so important, and it affects so much of what actually ends up on our plate and what gets in our bellies and how the health of our soil, our planet, and our bodies fares. So next up, it is my pleasure to introduce you to Demarcus Medley. Demarcus's family has deep roots in agriculture. As plantation workers in the Mississippi Delta in the same fields where his ancestors were forced into slavery, Demarcus's mother picked cotton alongside her mother, her father, her grandmother, and grandfather. Now, decades later, he and his brother founded Green Lords, Inc., an aquaponics farm in Galesburg with degrees in mechanical engineering, technology, and business, 6 children, and a cutting-edge aquaponics and industrial hemp farm. He's one busy guy. Here is Demarcus.
In 2011, my life changed forever. I was born with spinal bifida. What started with a simple doctor visit ended up becoming major spinal surgery because I was born with the birth defect. And what spinal bifida is when the infant's spine doesn't develop fully in the mother's womb. And in my case, the tumor grew in that place and it pushed on the nerves in my back and caused nerve damage in both my legs and muscle loss. So at 26 years old, my career as a laborer was pretty much over. So I can no longer use my body, as to earn money as a career. So I spent the next year and a half in recovery from the surgery. I had to teach myself how to walk again. It's just a very dark time for me. And I decided instead of staying in my sorrows, that I could pick myself up and I can use this as an opportunity to make myself a better person. So I decided to start exercising and eating right. And before I knew it, I was in the best shape of my life. I was even stronger than before. And but I was still not able to go back to work. The doctor wouldn't release me. So my mother-in-law knew that I was looking for something to buy my time, and she saw a volunteer opportunity for Urban Farm in Galesburg. And I was introduced to a young farm manager named Matt Wallen. He showed me around the farm and showed me his aquaponics system, which immediately piqued my interest. And from there, I was allowed the opportunity to actually visit another urban farm in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, which used a large aquaponics system to grow produce and raise fish year-round in Milwaukee, in a very urban environment where they raise anything from fish to chickens to goats and things like that. And upon entry, as soon as you walk in, they show the who's who of Milwaukee. It's a 5-star general, I believe, a police captain, and then there's Will Allen, a 6'7" former professional basketball player, in the tank top, and it just inspired me to see this black man next to these these affluent white males in Milwaukee, and being just as important to the community, if not more. And also seeing that he was awarded a Genius grant of $500,000 because of his efforts. So I was really inspired that I could do the same, that maybe me and my brothers can do the same one day. And I remember walking through his facility and just feeling the energy and, seeing the people work together almost like a family. And I was just inspired by it all. And so fast forward, I decided to go back to school full time and study engineering technology. And, I ended up working and started a new career in utilities, which allowed me to help finance that goal. And along with some investments from my family members, my brothers and I founded Green Lords Inc. in 2017. And we started an urban farm in the middle of Galesburg using aquaponics. And from the very beginning, it was just like we just took off because people was inspired by our story. And we came up what I thought was a way for us to create careers for ourselves and give back to the community, along with build generational wealth for our family. And so along with that, my brothers and I made a small donation to Galesburg Youth Athletic Club to help start an after-school program in hopes that we can combine our aquaponics. We can teach the kids aquaponics and things like that on the farm, along with curriculum to help with their homework and stuff after schools programs. My brothers and I grew up in those. It was very important. So everything was great, but we got a lot of pushback from the city, with zoning issues and flood our lives from the city. I think we were mainly misunderstood. But we're persistent. My mother, she grew up on a plantation in Mississippi, picking cotton alongside her mother and her father, and their father and their mother before then, basically always back to the time of bondage. And my mother's only 60. I'm sorry, she's gonna be so mad. 63. So she was still picking cottons in the 70s, to say the least. So I kind of use that to persevere through anything. And so all the ups and downs is just working, from the police raiding the farm, mistaking my industrial hemp for marijuana, to just push back from city officials. We just persevered through it all, because for me it became something bigger. And for me, working on my farm is not work. On my worst day, my farm brings me peace. My farm is my happy place. The beautiful colors, the sounds, and the smells are intoxicating. I work hard to secure the opportunity to grow industrial hemp for CBD, and this plant with thousands of uses has pushed my growing skills, to the next level. Like I'm using these unique skills I learned and we grew hemp to trees, like anything you've probably seen. So which leads to bountiful harvest for us all. So becoming a farmer has taken my life in a direction, a young boy from the west side of Chicago never envisioned. So growing up, food insecurity was a real, and food insecurity was real, and healthy foods are hard to obtain. So what Greenlows is trying to do is help combat these issues in our small community. Our farm was purposely placed in the food desert to lead the battle to defeating childhood hunger by teaching sustainable agriculture. And our farm was not only created to lead our family with generational wealth, but to lead our community in educational wealth and health. So I want to thank you all for listening, and I appreciate you guys for taking the time, and I hope that you can support this great organization. Thank you.
Awesome.
So good. So good. Nailed it.
Wow, what touching words. Working on my farm is not work. On my worst day, my farm brings me peace. It's my happy place. The beautiful colors, sounds, and smells are intoxicating. Boy, I wish I could say the same for my little office here at home during COVID. But what a wonderful story. What an extraordinary family story. And I'm so amazed that he's overcome all those obstacles to find his passion and to make this the hemp and CBD that seems to be bringing a lot of people, some comfort from their pain. I know I'm a creaky person who's got some sore muscles these days as well. So thank you, DeMarcus. Now, do any of you remember those goats we saw? Well, tonight you will be hearing from their mom. She is a city slicker turned farm girl who moved from the urban streets of Boston to the rural countryside of central Illinois that I know well from going to college there. There, she discovered a passion for making something that she and her goats are known for all over the globe at this point. She's going to tell us about the goats that live on her idyllic Prairie Fruits farm, just 15 minutes from the bustling University of Illinois in Urbana-Champaign. So right now, let's hear it for Leslie Cooper Band.
I remember vividly the bite of cheese that changed my life. It was in 1998, and I was a fairly new professor at the University of Wisconsin-Madison in soil science, and I had gone to the farmers market there. The Dane County Farmers Market is world renowned, and it is packed, or it was packed every Saturday. You could barely move. And I was making my way around, checking out all the different farms. There's so many farmers that attend that market, so many cheese makers. It was just amazing. And I stopped at this little cheese stand that had goat cheese, and I tasted her fresh shove, and I was blown away. It was the most amazing goat cheese I'd ever had. And it was creamy, it was tangy, it didn't taste goaty, and it was just transformative. And I came to fall in love with that cheese, and the woman who made that cheese, her name is Ann Topham, and she's the founder of Fantôme Farm. She was one of the first French-style goat cheese producers in the United States, learning how to make that cheese back in the early 80s when no one in the US even knew you could make cheese from goat's milk. And little by little, I came to know her and fall in love with the different styles of cheese that she was making. And although I was a professor working with dairy farmers every day, trying to convince them to farm more sustainably and to compost their manure, somehow lurking inside me was this secret passion to learn how to make cheese. I didn't really follow on that passion until my husband and I, Wes Gerald, moved from Madison to Champaign-Urbana in 2003. He was offered a position at the University of Illinois as a department head. And I was reluctant to leave Madison because if you know Madison and you're moving to Champaign-Urbana from Madison, you have to question why you would do that. So when we decided to make the move, we both agreed that we needed to have a farm. We both had wanted to have a small piece of land where we could put into practice a lot of the things we were telling other farmers they should do to farm more sustainably. And by pure luck, we found a small 7-acre piece of land that had been carved off of a 40-acre corn and soybean farm just outside of Champaign. And it had a beautiful log house and a metal pole barn, and all of the fields up to the driveway were in corn and soybeans. So we set to change this landscape little by little. We planted a cover crop that first year of buckwheat. The following year, we planted some fruit trees. And my little passion for cheese making started to bubble up, and I said, okay, I want to get some goats. I want to learn how to make those cheeses that I loved from Ann Topham. And we decided to get some Nubian goats. I did a lot of research about what breeds I wanted based on their milk characteristics. And we purchased 3 does and 1 buck from a breeder in Kansas. They came in June. And I went on my merry way. We both had full-time jobs. We were working pretty late into the early evenings. We would come home and do chores. Thanksgiving came and went. And the Monday after Thanksgiving, I came home from work. I went out to do the evening feeding chores, and I heard a baby crying. And if you've ever heard baby goats crying, they sound like human babies. It's pretty amazing. And I didn't want to look in the direction of where this crying was coming from. But eventually I had to find the source, and I did. And sure enough, Chocolate had a little baby buck. We named him Hershey. He, unlike his mother, who was black, he was brown with white and gray spots, long floppy ears. And it was just kind of like we just had no idea how this could have happened. That, it just was impossible that they could have been bred in September and kidded at the end of November. So because they're pregnant for 5 months. And then, so we managed the best we could. We were milking Chocolate, and then 2 weeks later, her sister Snickerdoodle kidded with twins. And now all of a sudden, we have 2 does that are in milk, and it's the beginning of winter, and clearly they did not read the book about seasonal breeding. They were bred about 2 weeks after they arrived in probably early July. And we just, this is the hand that we were dealt. So we set up a little wooden milking stand in the middle of this freezing cold metal pole barn that had no insulation. As soon as the milk hit the pail, it would freeze. So you had to work really fast. And we milked them twice a day through the winter. The silver lining was that I actually got to make cheese for the first time with my own milk in our house and test my recipes, try the product out on friends. And people seemed to think it was pretty good. And that gave me the confidence to decide later that spring that we were going to go for it and build Illinois' first farmstead goat creamery. It was probably the best decision I ever made.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I have to agree that Madison is a beautiful, beautiful place, but come on, Urbana-Champaign's no chopped liver either. But I am so glad that that Leslie came down and started her goat farm there, because wow, that is some of the most delicious, delicious chèvre or goat cheese I've ever had. And boy, I can't wait to get some more at a farmer's market or head down to U of I, maybe on a college visit with my daughter. But thank you so much for that story, Leslie. So, Liz and Molly, how are we doing here?
Wow, it's looking pretty good. I just wanted to give everyone a shout out. You know, there have been a lot of donations that have come in, and I think it would be wonderful to note everyone that has sent us money, and we are so thankful. So I'm going to read maybe half of the list, and then I'll throw it over to Molly to read the other.
That's good.
All right, so Lindsay Record, thank you. George Havanek, thank you so much. Lenore Bayer, James and Tracy Barkley, David Pickering, our very own Kathleen Mueller, Mark Armentrout, Dan Kinney, our board member, Rachel Berry, our board member, John and Virginia Gill, Kevin and Karian Fitzpatrick, and Rakisha Candler, another board member, Monica Romano, Timothy Magner, board member, Kendra Beistefer, board member, my mom and dad, Alan and Keith Rupel, or Kim Rupel, Emily Wright, board member, David Hurst, Erica Beeman, another board member. I'll throw it over to Molly to read Savannah.
Yeah, Savannah and John Williams, thank you so much. Sherry O'Donnell, our board president, thank you, Sherry. Mark Sanson, Mark has been doing a lot of work behind the scenes at the Alliance, so thank you, Mark. Katie Adams, our storyteller, thank you, Katie. Bruce Bergathon, Matt Meacham, Joseph and Catherine Pecora, Kim Nolan of Redbird Cafe up in Homewood, Illinois. Kim's a really great chef up there, so visit her restaurant if you can. Jacob Wayland, Matthew Moran, Johnny Moran, Janine Pickering, guest of Tina and Tina Genazzo. I think that's supposed to be Tina and Tina Genazzo's guest. And then Megan Stiles and Dan Kinney. Thank you so much to everyone who donated tonight. You have helped us get so close to our goal. Thank you. We are so happy.
Yes, yes. And, you know, after doing some of these tallies, do you think we should maybe share any news with everyone?
I think maybe we should share some news. I think we have some news to share.
I think we do. So with everything that was just tallied up there, and again, continue to donate, but you know what? We not only met, but we surpassed our fundraising goal tonight. So our goal now is $1 million. Just kidding. But if you haven't yet given, don't worry. We'll leave this campaign open for another week. 7 more days to donate. When it comes to changing Illinois food systems, every dollar we raise will help fund our work to bring farmers and eaters together to solve problems, champion solutions, and build a healthier food system for our state.
So that was over $20,000, guys. Yes. Okay, thank you so much to everyone. I'm going to lose my mic here when I'm going to start dancing. Thank you so much to everyone tonight who donated, including First Allied Securities for that matching challenge, for everyone who helped us make that matching challenge and meet that matching challenge. We also want to throw some more props out to our sponsors, including our barn raisers, Blue Cross Blue Shield, Springfield Clinic Neurosurgery. It takes everyone working together to create change, and we are so grateful for those businesses that are leading the way.
So again, we'll be taking donations for another week, but we also wanted to let you know that our online auction will be open for 24 more hours. It's going to close Monday night at 8 p.m. sharp. So get those bids in and get them up. Another quick mention for Tom Abbott, Karen Lehman, Sheila Walk, and Cassandra Carroll. A few more that have just come in. Ted, oh, we love you, Ted. So we're just going to read those and then we'll pass it back over to Molly.
From the Alliance, we thank each and every one of you who tuned in tonight to hear inspiring stories of food, farming, and a little bit of fun, maybe some off-the-wall dance moves. We also want to thank our host, Monica Ng from WBEZ. Thank you so much, Monica.
Thank you, and thanks so much for having me. And I was saying that I'd have to go down to the Urbana Farmers Market, but I could actually go to www.prairiefruits.com for some of that goat cheese. I feel like, you know, with all these stories, I'd love to have some CBD oil and some sourdough bread and goat cheese all mixed into one from all these stories. And that would make a really lovely snack. It was my pleasure to join you all tonight and to join you, Molly and Liz. I also want to thank Katie, Harold, Demarcus, and Leslie for sharing your inspiring stories with me and all the viewers tonight. To all our viewers, thank you for tuning in live for the inaugural The Dish. I'm Monica Eng saying thank you for joining us. Tune in next year when I think we're going to dish this out again. And good night. Stay safe. Eat good food.